Welcome, everybody, to the Three Gun Show. I'm your host, Dave Hartman, and with me tonight is Mandy Bachman of IDPA. Mandy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I am super pumped to have you. So I saw recently that we had like a Colorado State Championship, and you actually did well. And
Yeah.
looking forward to chatting about that. And then in booking you on the show here, I for some reason I connected the Wilson combat. I connected that you're an accomplished shooter, but I didn't connect that you actually worked at IDPA. So I want to get into that as well.
Definitely. Yeah. I'd love to talk about it.
And a fun fact for those listening at home and listening to this later, you are our first IDPA shooter on the Three Gun Show here. So I'm excited to have you.
Making history.
That's right. That's right. So it's first of all, thanks for being here. I'm excited to have you. I want to get to know you a little bit and have the audience get to know you as well. So let's start with a little bit of your background. What do you do when you're not shooting? Who's Mandy when she's not on the range?
So actually, I started out as a teacher. I graduated college in 2010, and my plans were to teach, and I got certified to teach math and science, and I started teaching at a school pretty close to my hometown, and I coached cheer. For those of you who don't know, I'm a former gymnast and college cheerleader. That was kind of my thing. I played sports forever growing up. Actually started gymnastics when I was 2.
Whoa.
I knew I wanted to teach and coach, and started doing that. And then an opening actually came up at my alma mater where I graduated high school. And so I went over there and started teaching and coaching. And it wasn't as fun as I thought it would be. I mean, I loved the kids. I loved, my job. I loved the school that I worked at. But being someone who grew up playing sports forever, I mean, like I said, I started gymnastics when I was 2. I did that competitively for a really long time. I did junior Olympic diving for SMU, and I played basketball and tennis and track and cross country. I was always doing something growing up, and I thought coaching would feel that like competitiveness in me, and it didn't. Watching other people do stuff didn't. I don't know. It didn't work for me. I'm not one to watch sports on TV and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't grow up around shooting and stuff. I mean, my dad's a hunter. My sisters all hunted. One of my sisters is a cop. My brother loves to hunt. But because I played so many sports growing up, I didn't have time to go do things like that. So I maybe got a gun 5 times growing up. So what really brought me into shooting was while I was in college, my boyfriend, who's now my husband, he called me one day and was like, "You will not believe who I just sold some farm equipment to." And I was like, "Okay, who?" And he said, "Bill Wilson." And I was
Who's
like,
that?
"Yeah." I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Am I supposed to know who this is?" And he's like, "Wilson Combat." And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, he wants me to start coming out and shooting with him, and all this. He was so excited, and I was like, I guess I'm supposed to like be really excited about this, And so he started going out there and shooting a lot, and I was still teaching at the time, and I got to where I would go out there and watch. And I mean, this was back in about 2010, and I'd go watch them, and they started out doing a lot of rifle stuff when Cody's first started going out there. And I really never had any interest in that. And then they started doing pistol shooting, and I would go watch, and I really, really, really wanted to do it, but I had no clue how. And, being someone who did a lot of sports growing up and I like to think pretty good at most of the sports that I did, it was very intimidating to get in front of people like Bill and Joyce and, not know anything and shoot in front of them. So I actually spent about 4 years going out there and just watching and not shooting. And Joyce finally talked me into it, and I really enjoyed it. I wasn't good at all, but I was having a lot of fun. And I guess Christmas 2013, Cody bought me a gun, and I kind of started shooting it a little in 2014. And towards the end of 2014, I was like, all right, I'm gonna give this a try. So I signed up for IDPA and told myself I'm gonna practice for really, really hard for a few months, and then I'm gonna go shoot a match. Well, I shot one club match and thought I'm ready to do it, you know. So then
Nice.
And it was horrible. It was a disaster. I mean, I went there feeling pretty confident, you know, thinking, oh, I've got this, no big deal. And I wasn't last, but I was in definitely the bottom third overall. And I was like second to last in my division. And it was a big ego buster, you know. It was kind of like, oh, I'm not good at this. It was about a 3-hour drive home, and the whole way home, I was just like, all right, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this right. You know, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna practice, I'm gonna work really hard, and I'm gonna get better at this. And I guess a couple of months later is when I won my first High Lady title, which was at a match here in Texas. And then it was kind of like, oh my gosh, maybe I really can do this, you know. And I mean, I've been doing it ever since. I love it. And I ended up quitting teaching. So I taught for 6 years. And last year, May 2017 was when I turned in my resignation and I started working for Bill and Joyce. So, I mean, it just kind of turned into what it turned into, and I never thought it would. So
that's quite the story right there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of questions from what you just said there. So first of all, like your conversation with your husband about Bill Wilson sounds like every conversation I've ever had with a girlfriend of like, you should care about this person. It's amazing. But
yeah.
I think that's hilarious. But then one thing that you said about your teaching and coaching career is that you don't like watching, you want to participate. So what took you so long to want to participate in shooting, in the shooting sports?
I think it was that I knew nothing about it. I mean, I knew nothing about guns other than what my dad taught me growing up about, you know, gun safety and things. But as far as like loading a gun, you know, flipping a safety or dropping a mag, or, you know, how to set up my belt, you know, I mean, it was just very intimidating because I just felt so behind the curve, which I mean, a lot of times I still do, you know, I mean, I still think of myself as fairly new to a lot of this. And even though I've been doing it for a couple of years now, I feel like I'm chasing to keep up with everyone else, you know. But that, and then it being male dominated, I mean, I'm sure you hear that a lot. But a lot of times, especially starting out, there's more females now that I see it like club matches and stuff. But there were a lot of times where I'd show up to a club match and I'd be the only person. So, you know, shooting out at Bill and Joyce's, a lot of times it was all guys and my husband, in which I learned really quick that shooting with my husband wasn't always the best situation. Probably sitting in another room, like, because you're so stinking competitive. But it was hard, you know. It was hard to learn, and I, not knowing what I was doing, sometimes I would feel like I was doing the right thing, but everyone else would keep telling me, no, you're not seeing your sights good. You're jerking the trigger. But in my head, I wasn't. Yeah. And so it was very frustrating starting out, because I feel like some of them, because they were so good, they forgot what it was like to be new. Yeah. I guess.
You know, I've experienced that too. And you know, probably in almost the exact opposite way that you have. Like you've got a gymnastics background, really athletic. I remember trying to learn some gymnastics moves at a CrossFit gym I went to. And like in my head, I'm doing exactly what the coach is telling me. And she's looking at me like I'm an alien or something. And I was like, Coach, you're gonna have to use different words, because I just don't understand like what I'm doing wrong. Like, I think I'm doing what you're telling me to do. Like, I'm watching you do it. I think I'm doing that. Like, help me out here.
Yeah.
So I think, like you said, a lot of times you do kind of lose that. I guess it's called the curse of knowledge. You lose what, you lose the ability to explain things because the novelty is worn off and it just becomes like old hat to you.
Yeah, you know, you kind of think like, this is so easy. Why can't you do it? You know, why are you not doing what I'm telling you to do? But as someone new, it's a lot to take in and understand. And I mean, I'm still learning, you know, and I hope I never stop learning. You know, I'll constantly be learning. When you quit learning, you're not improving yourself, you know. But it was just really intimidating, and they all shot really fast. And so that was my biggest habit former, or worst habit former, was that when I started, I would listen to how fast Bill would shoot and how fast Cody would shoot and Greg and all these guys that would come out and shoot out there. Mm-hmm. And so when I first started out, I just wanted to shoot fast. You know, I was going all Ricky Bobby on it, and I was just like, I just want to shoot fast, you know? And so I wasn't.
That's the fun part, though.
You know, I wasn't hitting anything, and so I've had to kind of learn to slow down, which is, I mean, I guess I wouldn't say, I don't want to say slow down because I don't want to go, you know, but to be more accurate and more precise with everything that I do instead of what I started out doing. And it's really hard to go backwards like that. Like, I really wish that I had started really focusing on being accurate and stuff, but that competitiveness in me, you know, I wanted to be as fast as Bill, and it was rough.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. I've many times tried to achieve a level of performance that I wasn't quite up to, that my skill level wasn't quite up to. So I think a lot of people can relate to that part of it. So one thing that you mentioned that I've heard frequently is that because it is a male-dominated sport, IDPA, USPSA, precision, 3-gun, whatever it is, that it is intimidating to women. That obviously that's something I can't relate to. Like, I hear that and I look around and I think, like, I don't know, everybody here seems pretty cool, so I don't get it. So help me understand, like, and for learning purposes, like how can I, or, you know, other men do better at being welcoming to ladies?
Yeah, that's a tough question because everyone's different. You know, some people like to have a lot of help. Some people like to kind of be left alone. You know, some people don't want to feel like they're being judged. I think with a lot of the ladies that I've talked to is that they feel, because I mean, most of them are new. You know, a lot of times when you go to, you know, your first match, you really haven't done a whole lot of shooting and stuff yet, you know. And I think a lot of ladies feel like they're kind of being judged and almost kind of laughed at. I mean, even when it's not happening, just because they may be the only lady there. I mean, I've been very fortunate that the club that I go to, it's an hour and a half from me. That's the closest one I have. They're amazing. Collin County IDPA, and they do USPSA as well. But when the first time I went, I didn't get that uncomfortable, you know, I'm the only girl here feeling. And it may be because I got used to shooting out at Bill and Joyce's, where, you know, a lot of times it was just me and Joyce were the only females there. But, you know, a lot of it's just being welcoming and including people. I think sometimes what happens at clubs is they get a little cliquish. You know, you have like the groups that are always there, and when someone new comes in, you don't really realize that you're not interacting with that person and including them and everything. I know a lot of clubs are starting to do like welcoming squads, where like they have their, you know, their most outgoing and friendliest people that want to, you know, kind of take someone in and mentor them. And actually a female IDPA shooter that I know, at their club, they do that. And I've talked to a couple other places that are saying they're doing something like that, you know, where they just have some people that are really good at interacting with new people, and it's really helped them get, you know, more ladies into their clubs. And I think another thing is intimidation of not having the skills to shoot the match, you know, going into it and not really knowing what to expect. That when I went to that Oklahoma match, it was my second match, and I'd never shot swinging targets before. I'd never opened a door while holding a gun. And I mean, that was very, very intimidating, you know, to go into something and then be like, oh crap, I have never done any of this stuff. And so you just got
to figure it out on the clock.
Exactly. You know, I think a lot of it's intimidation, and you know, even if you're not trying to be intimidating, you know, people, you know, going to a group of people that you don't know, doing things that you're not quite super comfortable with, I think is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And correct me if I'm wrong, but from my perception, I think a lot of people try to overhelp, and it ends up being
kind of like damsel in distress almost. Yeah. Sometimes that can happen, and then you know, you're kind of sitting there like, am I doing that bad? Like, do they really think they gotta like do all this for me? But you know, like I said, I think everyone's different, but if you're friendly and inviting and stuff, they'll come back. I mean, like I said, Collin County, I walked up knowing nobody, you know, and by the time I left, I had 40 new friends, and I kept going back, even though it was just me. My husband's not interested in competing and stuff, so I mean, I've done all this pretty much on my own as far as traveling to matches and stuff, and I wouldn't do it if I didn't feel comfortable around the people I was with. So that kind of tells you a lot about the people you interact with at matches. I mean, they're good people, and sometimes it just takes a little longer to figure that out for some people, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's like you said, anytime you come into any sort of group, whether that's, I mean, any sort of new social group, right? Because shooting is very social, even though we have earplugs in, 90% of the time. Like before and after, while we're setting, we're always, talking and making fun of each other and things like that. So, but when you see that sort of rapport and that interaction as a new person, you do kind of feel, a little bit on the outside.
Yeah, it's like walking into the high school cafeteria, not knowing which table to, like,
yeah, exactly. Like, oh, everyone here buys their lunch. I brought my lunch. Now I'm the weird guy.
You're that kid.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's back up just a little bit here. You very, very athletic upbringing, a lot of sports that you competed in. Do you feel like your gymnastics background helps you in the shooting sports?
I do. I think mentally and physically, my mental game is something I struggle with, but as far as like being disciplined, I mean, when I started gymnastics, I was 2 years old. My older sisters were actually in gymnastics. I was too young at the time, but I've always had a ton of energy and have always cursed my parents with that. And so my mom would take me with my siblings to do gymnastics, and I would be up on the balcony doing all kinds of crazy stuff, not sitting still. My mom couldn't watch my sisters because I was being wild. And so she finally just dragged me down the stairs and told the gym owners, like, either you put her in gymnastics too, or I've got to pull my other two out because I can't keep doing this. And so they put me in, and I caught on like super quick. And my sisters were both like, nah, we're out of, we're done with this, But so, I mean, I started, at 2, and then it got to the point where, I was training 4 hours a day, traveling on the weekends and competing. And so I think it taught me a lot about being disciplined and working hard, but also hand-eye coordination, balance. I coached gymnastics for a while, and we would actually get a lot of kids who play soccer and stuff. And a lot of it was for, balance, hand-eye, and flexibility. I mean, it can help with so many other sports. And I did that for a really long time. And I just feel like a lot of times, especially with like footwork and things, I feel like I don't lose my balance much. I say that I have fallen at one match and I landed on a mud puddle. There is video footage of it out there somewhere, but I do think that that's helped a lot, along with other sports. I've played a lot of other sports and stuff too, but it definitely helps.
Yeah, I can relate. I've got a great video of me doing like an endo, like feet overhead, running through the forest, and a lot of bruises resulted from that one. So I feel your pain on that.
Yeah. It's kind of scary the first time you fall down, and and I was like, and when it happened, I swear it was like slow motion. I mean, it was like it took forever, and all I could do was like look at the gun and make sure that I was it's off the trigger and that it was pointed down range. And I hit the ground and I didn't hear the SO say anything, so I just jumped back up and went. And then later when I watched the video, I mean, it was just like boop, boop, And when it happened, it was like it was crazy, But that's the only time that's happened. So that had nothing to do with my gymnastics. That was environment.
Well, I blame the stump I tripped over on that, but realistically, I probably should have saw it. But I can totally relate on that too. Like the slow motion part of it that you're talking about. Like I had a full conversation with myself in my head of like, okay, keep the gun pointed in the safe direction. Make sure you flick the safety on. Okay, just pop right back up when you go down. And it's amazing. And then you look at the video later, you're like, geez, that happened a lot faster than it did in my head.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Well, keep it upright. That's probably the best advice there.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, Mandy, one of the interesting things I found when I was doing a little bit of research on you is I watched a video that Wilson Combat produced, and you achieved master in 2 years. Am I correct in that?
You are correct.
That is impressive.
17th female in the 20 plus years of IDPA to make master.
That's pretty awesome. So I think that piggybacks on what you were just talking about with the discipline that you learned in gymnastics to apply yourself and do that focused training. So what kind of training did you do to achieve that in such a short amount of time? And did you lay out a plan? Are you one of those people that like makes a spreadsheet and a calendar and all that?
So it all started when I came home from the Oklahoma match. I mean, that 3+ hour drive, I mean, seriously, I was just sitting there thinking, all right, that was embarrassing. I'm going to do it right. If I'm going to shoot another match, I'm going to do this the right way, not just kind of go out in my yard and play around. So I ended up getting my husband to make me a little berm at my house. We had a pond that had been dug out and the dirt was just kind of sitting by the pond. So he moved quite a few loads out to an area closer to the house, and we still have a lot to move, but we got enough moved to where, I could set up some targets and stuff. So I no longer had an excuse not to practice, because at the beginning, the only time I ever got to practice was if we went out to Bill and Joyce's, which is, I mean, it's only about 20 minutes from me, but that was maybe once or twice a week. So we got the berm set up to where I could go out and shoot more. And I also started doing one of Mike Seeklander's programs. Let's see, competition handgun guide, I believe is what it was called. And so I did kind of do a calendar. I mean, he pretty much has all that sorted out in his book, but I kind of tweaked it to what my schedule could allow, because at the time I was still teaching and coaching. So I didn't have a whole lot of free time. I mean, coaching, high school sports and stuff, you get up to school at 6 a.m. and there's some nights where you don't get home till, 1 in the morning. So I had it to where I would at least do something pretty much every day, even if it was just, 10 minutes of dry fire. I figured anything was better than nothing. So I started doing that, and then I also emailed Bill, and I told him, hey, I want to start shooting with you, once a week. And that was over the summer when I had a lot more time. And he told me, he was like, all right, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm going to tell you how it is. You're going to have to toughen up. And because I'd had a few hissy fits out of his place where, I kind of did the typical girl thing, I guess, and stomped off and sat in the car and pouted for a while and all that. And so
I shoot with guys that do that.
Have you? Okay, good.
Oh, yeah.
Better, because and I'll tell the story later. But so I had one really bad one time. But so I started working with him, and that helped a lot. He really taught me a lot on what I needed to work on. He really made me focus on accuracy. And I would shoot, and where a huge turning point for me started was when I could start calling my shots, because like I said earlier, I started out just shooting, and hoping I was hitting the targets. And so kind of changing gears and learning how to control my shots and all that, that was really hard for me, because I had formed so many bad habits in the first couple months that I started. And so he started working on me on calling shots. He'd make me shoot, and then he'd ask me, all right, where did it go? He'd want me to tell exactly where it went without, looking at the target and stuff. And when I started seeing that as I was actually shooting, I started to really see some huge changes in my shooting. And on top of that, when I was coaching, I gained a lot of weight because, I mean, I wasn't having time to really focus on me. I was stressed all the time. I was eating concession stand food. I was not in good shape at all during that time, which was really hard for me, because I'd always thought of myself as being an athlete. And at that point, I wasn't an athlete anymore. And so I got out of coaching, and I moved to home ec. So I was actually teaching how to cook and sew and all that, which was an amazing job. But it gave me a lot more free time. So I started really focusing on my health more, and then on top of shooting and training and all that, and I mean, it was crazy the amount of progress that I saw in such a short amount of time. Just from really trying to apply myself and work hard, and not give myself excuses as to why I couldn't or why I could, do something. So definitely a lot of it, though, I give a lot of credit to Bill, because he taught me a lot, and he's still teaching me a lot. I mean, I get emails from him sometimes like, you need to read this article, because he really tries to make me work on the mental side of stuff, because I guess being super competitive, I'm really hard on myself, and I have a hard time letting stuff go. And that's been one of the major things that I've worked on over the past year or so is, if you have a bad stage, it's over, it's done, get over it, And so he's always sending me, articles or books and stuff about the mental mindset and mental game, and working on that's really helped too. But it was a lot of work, but it's been totally worth it.
Yeah, well, that's really cool to have Bill as a resource, right? And his mentorship. I mean, that's huge. I'm sure that really helped you accelerate your game.
Definitely, and Joyce too. I mean, Joyce has been around shooting for a long time, and she's given me a lot of tips, a lot of advice, and the guys on the team. I mean, I've had people, like Mike Seeklander and Greg Martin and Walton Austin Prue and Eric, and all those guys that are on the team are phenomenal shooters, and they've been in the game for quite a while, and so having people like that I can go to ask questions, and having them at matches, I mean, I'm sure when I would show up at a match with them, they'd all go, "Oh gosh, here she comes." I'd ask questions all day long, but I figured, well, until they tell me to shut up, I'm going to keep asking, because you've got to learn somehow, and they were all so patient with me, and they've really helped me figure out the game side of IDPA, because, figuring out stages and where to do what and everything. I mean, I still catch myself asking Greg, hey, how are you going to shoot this one? And, having people that are willing to share that stuff with you is really great.
Yeah, having like you said, a team, whether it's a formal team or like an ad hoc team, people you just travel with and shoot with, is I think it's one of the most underrated things, or maybe, I don't know, unspoken things, because I think people just take it for granted. But there's so much value in being able to bounce your stage breakdowns off of people. Different ideas for attacking a stage, preparation, helping each other out with gear and stuff like that. It's pretty big.
Yeah, and having people that you can ask, hey, I've really been struggling with my accuracy lately. What are some drills that you've been doing, or what do you do? And I mean, Greg gave me a handful of drills last time I was in Arkansas. We shot together, and he showed me some things that he's done over the years that have really, because I mean, he's probably one of the most accurate shooters I know. And so I'm like, all right, if it works for him, then surely I could make it, work for me. And so I've been, trying to work on some of that. And I mean, he's just, watch it, and sometimes just watching people like that, you learn so much. I mean, when most of the guys on the Wilson team shoot, aside from BJ, I mean, when he shoots, it's like, holy freaking cow, how does he?
BJ is insane. Yes.
Yeah. But when I watch people like Greg or Glenn Shelby or any of them, I watch them shoot the stage, and I'm like, yeah, that was quick. And then they say the time, and I'm like, holy crap, that was really fast. And then they say the points down, and I'm like, how in the world? But they're so smooth. There's no wasted movement. There's everything just flows, and just watching people like that shoot too has helped tremendously. Really paying attention to the things that they do and their footwork and all that, and how they attack a stage. I mean, it's just very educational.
Yeah, it's great to be surrounded by high achievers like that, because they definitely bring you up to their level.
Definitely.
So when you were on your journey to master, what was your proportion of dry fire to live fire? Did you just go out to the newly minted berm and let loose, or what was the regimen like?
I was shooting a lot of rounds. I don't know exactly how many. I'd probably say my second, let's see, 2015, I did a lot more dry fire. 16 and 17, I shot a lot of rounds. I'd say about 1,000 a week was kind of what I was. I mean, for me, that was a lot of rounds. Someone else may be like, oh, that's nothing. But I mean, I was shooting around 1,000 a week. And I look back on that and I think I could have gotten away with doing less. Sometimes I would get out there and I would get really sloppy. So I've kind of figured out now that 250 rounds per practice is about my limit. I mean, like I said earlier, I've always been very hyperactive. I kind of have a limited focus. And so I've kind of figured out now what my practice limit is. But at the time, I needed to get a lot of trigger pulls under my belt because I hadn't, like I said, I hadn't shot a lot, you know. I didn't start shooting till I was in my mid-20s. So it needed to happen, but I think I could have gotten away with less. I haven't always been real great on dry fire. Usually about 10, 15 minutes is about all I can do. I started forming really bad habits, like not gripping the gun tight. And so, you know, when I was really dry firing a lot, I would go out and shoot and be like, oh crap, you know, gun almost flew out of my hand because I was just being real sloppy. So I got one of those cool fire trainers, and that's really helped with my dry fire because it actually, you know, you put the CO2 barrel in your actual gun, and it makes you actually hold on to the gun because your gun's actually cycling. And the first few trigger pulls, I mean, it's like way hotter than, you know, my normal power factor. So I really have to focus on hanging on. And that's kind of helped get me more interested into dry fire again, just because I can focus on having a good grip and really squeezing the gun. But mostly live fire is what I do.
So I'm not real familiar with the cool fire trainer. You said it's a barrel that you replace in your gun, and then you fill it with CO2, and I'm guessing it has some sort of charge.
Yeah, it charges it. On a good charge, I can probably get about 20 trigger pulls. The last few, maybe it's more than 20. The last few will start getting kind of soft. But I mean, it's really cool. I mean, you actually feel like you're shooting a gun. Now it is
weird to do inside.
It can be kind of loud in like certain rooms if you don't have a lot of stuff on your walls. But I mean, you can. I mean, I've got little stickers and targets and all that in my living room, and I can go through and shoot. And it comes with inserts for your mags and stuff, so you can make the slide lock back if you want to, or you can put the little inserts in, and so your slide will keep cycling. It won't lock back on you on an empty mag. You can do different like malfunctions and stuff. You can set it up to where it malfunctions, and then you can, you know, make yourself go through the motions of clearing the malfunction and all that. So it's really cool. And I like that I can actually use my gun, and I didn't have to get like a little airsoft pistol or something similar. To, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like so I shoot a Glock 34, and if you look at like the CERT, I think is what they are. The I don't even know what the acronym is, but the you know, inert pistols that have like a laser coming out of the end. The trigger certainly works. The frame's a little bit different, so they don't get in like patent issues, but then the slide doesn't reciprocate, so it's completely different. So it's tough to do that one for one unless it actually is your gun.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, I really like that about it. Is, I mean, it's really easy, and you just basically take your barrel out and put their barrel in, and you're ready to go.
That's pretty slick. So now that you've got some experience under your belt and you're chasing that last little bit in achievement, what does your practice regimen look like these days?
You know, and I had put this on my Facebook the other day, or I say the other day, a couple of weeks ago, and it got a lot of comments kind of varying. But a while back, one of my teammates, Greg, he told me that a good 100-round practice is better than a sloppy 300-round practice, you know, because we were kind of talking about how I used to go out and just, you know, do it for the gram, and you know,
which is important.
Yeah, you gotta do it for the gram. But you know, about 250 rounds is usually about where I'm gonna quit at, and I can usually tell, you know, if I'm starting to kind of get sloppy and stuff. But I try really hard to shoot about 5 days a week if I can. You know, sometimes work doesn't allow that, or you know, I've got other things going on. When I'm traveling a lot, I don't always get as many practices as I would like. But I really try hard to at least handle my gun as often as possible. So even if that's just, you know, sitting on the couch and dry firing some while I watch TV. But a lot of times now my practices are based on what I've been struggling with. So, you know, doing the things I don't like to do, like shooting weak hand or shooting strong hand, you know, headshots, things like that. I started doing that last year, doing things that I really don't enjoy, because I mean, a lot of times you want to go out there and you want to do the things that are fun to you and that you're good at. And I found for me, going out and doing the things that I really struggle with and that I hate doing, it's made it a lot easier in matches. You know, I don't go up to a weak hand stage anymore and go, oh crap, you know, this is going to make or break my match right here. You know, I have a lot more confidence now going up to stages like that. So usually, you know, like Colorado, you know, I shot in Colorado a couple weeks ago, and I noticed that, you know, most of my shots that were out were on a transition. So I've been doing a lot of transitioning since then, you know, working on making sure I'm actually stopping on the target and not just swinging past it. So I just try to find things that I need to work on and work on them.
Mm-hmm. What do you feel is like, other than the transition part, what do you feel is like the weakest, I know that's kind of a loaded term, but the weakest part of your game that you feel you need the most work on?
My mental game.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, like for instance, IDPA Nationals is next week.
Okay.
I tend to perform pretty well at regional matches, state matches, and all that. Obviously, when you go to nationals, there's going to be a lot of competition there. Last year was not good for me at IDPA Nationals, and I let the word nationals get to my head. I mean, it was no different than any other match that I had shot that year. And so I let things like that get to me. I mean, I seriously felt sick to my stomach before every stage at nationals last year, because I had put so much pressure on myself and got myself so worked up that it was, you know, it was nationals. And then, like I said earlier, learning how to let things go. You know, you have a bad shot, it's done. If you've moved on from that stage, there's absolutely nothing that you can do about that at that point. And you know, learning how to let things like that go. I had a real rough stage at Colorado a couple weeks ago, and it was, I guess, third to the last stage. I was all obsessed over the fact that I had that stage. Had a bobble on the next stage, and then a crash and burn on the last stage of the match. And it all dominoed from that initial, and I was on a roll before that. I was having a really, really, really good match before that one stage. And then I just let it domino into what it became. I mean, it still wasn't a disaster match or anything like that, but I had worked so hard all day to be where I was, just to let one bad stage, which everybody has at least one bad stage most of the time, you know. Yeah. But my mental game is definitely my weakest part of my game, I feel like.
So what kind of exercises or drills or work are you doing to work on your mental game?
Like I said, Bill's given me a lot of books to read. He gave me one last year that was called Bullseye Mind. I can't remember who the writer is.
Okay. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, when he gave it to me, he said, he was like, "This is you." I mean, that's pretty much what he told me when he handed me the book, you know. And so of course I go home and I start reading it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is me, you know. Pretty much every page, it was like, I think that same thing, you know, I do that same thing. And so I actually have a lot highlighted in that book, and I refer back to it a lot, because you know, having a pity party for yourself or anything like that, sometimes you need something to kind of snap you out of it and everything. So a lot of reading, a lot of talking to people. You know, I'm real big on do what works for you. You know, people will ask me something, I'll be like, hey, you know, if it's working for you, it's working for you. You know, I do a lot of things that people say are wrong, but it's what works for me, you know, and until it doesn't work for me, I'm going to keep doing it. But I ask a lot of people, you know, well, what do you do when you have a bad stage, you know, or what do you do when, you know, you're in a slump, you know, everybody hits like a plateau at some point. And, you know, it's kind of the make or break on if they stay in it or if they get out, you know, if you kind of hit that plateau and can't break it. You know, just getting advice from people, especially more seasoned shooters, and seeing how they've accomplished, you know, what they've accomplished and how they handle certain situations, and then reading, and then just working on toughening up my skin and quit being such a big baby all the time. You know?
Yeah, that's a hard one. That's a hard one, especially, you know, when you're an adult. You know, you got all those years of like habits and stuff ingrained into it. Yeah, as far as asking people like how they, you know, deal with that stuff, I find that really experienced shooters, it's easy for them to explain long range shooting or a fast reload or, you know, getting into a position or something like that. But when you ask them about their mental game, they're like, I don't know. How do you deal with it? You know, you get a lot of shoulder shrugs, like, oh, like, I don't know if it's just because I'm talking to dudes or what, but if we're not allowed to talk about like the mental aspects of it or anything. But I think, so I know that I struggle with the mental game a lot. I put a lot of pressure on myself for whatever reason in a lot of things. I can relate to the feeling sick before a stage. There's been a time where a friend of mine came up to me and he's like, dude, you look like you're going to pass out. And I realized, like, I was just standing there not breathing, you know, waiting to shoot. And I think we always talk about the mental game in practical shooting, but to find like a mental coach, someone who's going to guide you through that stuff is difficult. So it's great that you found that book to identify with, even if it's cathartic.
Yeah, it does help, and like I said, a lot of it in it you look at, and I think he was like an Olympic coach, I believe the writer was, but for me, you know, I'm reading it and I'm thinking, you know, I think the same stuff every time. I mean, it doesn't matter what sport I'm doing, or, you know, or even, my gosh, we can't even get Monopoly out at my house because it causes, you know, we're both calling up the attorneys like, all right, it's happening. And draw up the papers. But it's actually more me, not my husband. But you know, I do it in everything. I get worked up with anything when it comes to winning or losing. And you know, and I don't know, I almost think that's more of a negative thing than it is a positive thing. I mean, it has given me the determination to do well and stuff, but it also causes me to be extremely hard on myself. And I will say one thing that I've really started focusing on is shooting a good first stage. That seems to really help me calm the nerves some. I mean, if you get out there and you just try to, you know, hose the first stage, especially in IDPA where accuracy is extremely important, if you start dropping a lot of points, you know, right off the bat, that sets the mood for the whole day, you know.
Yep.
And I believe it was Rob Lathan that you know, kind of helped me with that. It was, you know, he really talked to me about, you know, setting the mood for the match and just focusing on shooting a really good stage. And another thing, he was out at Bill and Joyce's, I guess, last year after Nationals, and I had talked to him some about, you know, how I felt during Nationals. He was in our squad, so he knew how nervous I was the whole time. I mean, I was like shaking and everything. And so we spent a little time working together, and he picked at me the whole practice. I mean, he just messed with me, picked at me. You know, he'd say, "Shooter, are you ready?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." And then he'd be like, "Stand by." And then before he'd do the buzzer, he'd start talking to me, you know, and just kind of just trying to mess with my head. And that was really good because he kind of made me get back into my routine of, all right, I'm not ready now. This is what I need to do to get ready. And now I can shoot the stage or shoot the drill, you know. So, you know, just having people to kind of show you and tell you and give you tips on what you can do. And that helps a lot. But like you said, sometimes you ask people and they're like, I don't get nervous at a match.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you had to have at some point, you know, at some time. But that kind of goes back to when you've been doing it for a long time, sometimes you don't remember what it's like, you know. So.
Yeah, that's true. And then, like you said, when you reach those plateaus and try to bust through them, if that plateaus like a mental hurdle or something like that, once you get over it, most people try to put that behind them and not like, oh, I'm going to catalog this and put it on a 3x5 note card in case someone asks me about it in 2 years.
Exactly.
Yeah. So as far as like putting a good first stage together, do you do that in practice as well? One of the guests I just had on recently, Rick Torres, was telling me that he'll set up a stage and he'll walk it several times and then go to bed. And then he'll come out the next day. He's got, like he's got a range in his backyard. Come out the next day and he'll shoot that stage. And his focus is getting it right on that first time out.
Yeah. So lately, I seem to be in like this this cursed phase where every first stage of my match, like lately, normally I'm first because of my last name.
Oh yeah, that's another good one.
A lot of times it's on a standard stage, which is usually a limited stage. There's usually strong hand and weak hand. So lately my thing has been to go out and automatically start with weak hand shooting. Just because, I figure not give myself any time to warm up, try to get my hits, but I'm not shooting fast or anything like that. I'm trying to shoot deliberate and control, and start out with a good practice. So I don't have the space really to set up a stage at home, but I still try to start out like I would at an actual match and really be deliberate and, not necessarily, slow or anything, but just really, really focused on what I'm doing.
I got you. So let's talk about your match schedule then. So you just was it like a week ago shot the Colorado State Championship, which by the way I'm in Colorado. So I saw the news came out on that one. I was like, oh, that was that weekend, huh? All right, guess I missed that one. But so I had no clue what was going on. That was my bad. But how many matches do you shoot a year now that this is like your main focus?
This year I haven't shot as many. Had a lot going on this summer with my family and stuff, and my sister had a baby like back in August and everything. So I kind of took some time off to where I could be home in case the baby came early or anything like that. Normally, I guess the past couple of years I've shot probably 14 or so major sanctioned matches. I've got quite a few on my list for this year. I've got nationals next week, and I've got 2 in Texas in October. I've got 1 in New Mexico in November. So even though I kind of took a little bit of a break this summer, I've got quite a few left to go this year. I don't shoot as many club matches as I would like. The nearest clubs to me are an hour and a half in pretty much in every direction. So when I am home on a weekend, I can't always force myself to actually go, because it ends up being like going to a sanctioned match for me. I have to leave really early in the morning, then I'm there, and then it takes all day, and then I get home, and that's my whole Saturday. And if I'm home on a Sunday, I'm going to go to church because I tend to miss church too much. So I try to shoot as many matches as I can, and I think me working for IDPA and stuff now, I'll be at a lot more in the next year, and so.
I can relate to the hour and a half away match. Like all the matches here in Colorado that I shoot are 3-gun matches, and they're all like 90 minutes away from me. So it is like a huge time commitment. You've got 3 hours out the door, just in travel. So not including the time shooting and everything. So it's funny to complain about something like that, but it is like a big commitment to be able to do that. I found that practice score like keeps me honest on that, because I can't like Friday night go, I don't think I'm going to do it because I've already signed up for it. I've already paid for it. So now I'm going.
Yeah, that's the club I go to, Collin County. They a lot of their matches now they do practice score, and that you're right, because if I sign up, especially like if the match is full and I manage to get a spot, I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that person that doesn't show up and then someone else didn't get to shoot because the match was full and all that. And then a lot of times you can go ahead and pay and stuff too, and so you've already put in your money, and it's like, well, crap.
And I'm not going to skip out now. Well, so you've got nationals. What is it, next week, the 13th or something like that?
I leave Monday. So
okay.
Yeah, because I work for IDPA, I'll be there all week, and then I shoot next Friday and Saturday.
Okay, so what do you do for IDPA now?
I am Joyce's assistant. So I pretty much do whatever Joyce needs me to do. I do a lot of the social media, as far as, Facebook and Instagram and all that. I help do the tactical brief. It's the weekly email that goes out to all our members, and I do a lot of proofreading for stuff. And then I do stuff for Wilson Combat and stuff like that too. So I kind of bounce between the two on whatever needs to be done. I'll do it for them.
I got you. Now, do you find that difficult having duties for IDPA along with your shooting when you go to matches?
Sometimes, not really. I mean, a lot of times I try to get there early so I can get pictures of people and, post videos and all that. Sometimes when you're trying to get focused for a stage and someone's wanting to talk to you about rules and stuff, sometimes that can be, especially for me with my limited focus, but I appreciate it, and I appreciate the people that are there, and, I'm always happy to talk to everybody. So, it's different going from not working for IDPA and not really having any concerns before about, what was going on in a match, if the stage was legal or not, all that. And then working for IDPA, it just kind of puts a different, feel to it, but at the same time, I love it because I love the sport, and I love everybody that are at the. I've made so many friends across the country from doing this, and it's just neat because I would have never met any of these people had I not started shooting. So, I don't think I would change a thing. When I first started teaching, this was never even in my head at all that I would be doing something like this. Probably not my parents either. Sorry, parents. I go to school to be a teacher. But I love it, and it is different working for the company and everything, but at the same time, it's really fun.
Good. All right. So you're leaving Monday. So what are the next few days of match preparation look like? Do you have like a ritual that you do? Do you have like a list?
I was actually told by one of my teammates last year to quit practicing about a week before nationals.
Really?
He felt that a lot of my problems were that I practiced so hard leading up to nationals last year that I had really put like an expectation on myself, and that's all I was concerned about. But I've still been practicing, just not as hard as I had been last year. I figured this year I'm going to go into it a little different and go into it more on the outlook of going and having fun and shooting the best match for me and not worrying about everyone else's match. I think last year I was really focused on how everyone else's match was going and the people I was competing against. And this year it's all about me and my performance. I'm not going to worry about, this comes back to that the mental side of it. I'm not going to worry. I'm not going to look at scores. I'm not going to worry about how everybody else is doing. I'm just going to go out there and do my best, and we'll see where that gets me. Very
cool. So do you have your guns all clean, your ammo all loaded, your jerseys all packed?
No, I don't. No, I haven't reloaded yet. It's supposed to rain tomorrow and Friday, so I figured when I'm stuck inside while that's happening, I'm gonna do all that. And I have a thing about taking a clean gun to a match, so I'll probably clean my gun on Saturday and then shoot a little, go out and have a good practice. And then I probably won't do any shooting on Sunday. Sunday will be all getting everything packed and in my car because I'll have to leave really early Monday morning. So I think it's about a 10-hour drive, I think, for me.
How long did you say the drive was?
About 10 hours.
Where is it at?
Talladega, Alabama, at that CM marksmanship.
Yeah. So have you been there before? I keep hearing that's like an incredible range.
I haven't been there, but everyone, like you said, everyone I've talked to has said it's amazing. I just went to that Colorado match, and that Cameo shooting and education complex was ridiculous. So I'm really excited to see what this Alabama range looks like because it's got a lot of competition against the Colorado range.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome actually to be able to travel around and see all the different rural areas that have these really incredible ranges And man, some of the places I've been have just blown my mind of like, wow, this is incredible that all this is based on like throwing lead into dirt mounds.
What was really, I'd never been to Colorado. And so what was really cool to me about the Colorado range was the way the shots echoed.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, there were all these like mesas and, you know, all that around, I guess. And it was like you'd shoot and then you just hear it, you know, continue to go on. And it was really pretty. Although the dry air gave me a nosebleed. I'd never had a nosebleed before. I'm used to like 80% humidity, you know, so it was not 80%, but you know, super humid, and that dry air was, and I guess the altitude was a little hard on me.
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Colorado. I spent like I think I spent like 9 months in Austin, and other than that, just, you know, Colorado boy. But we shot recently in Cheyenne, which is very similar. It's a little bit higher than where Denver is. But yeah, a lot of competitors were complaining about the elevation and the dryness, and I'm like, suck it up, you know, deal with it. I gotta go to freaking Kentucky and like stand outside and like, why am I still sweating? I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
So when I travel to the South or humid places like that, it's like a mind blower. But yeah, like nosebleeds, putting lotion on your hand and chapstick, that's like a way of life around here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still having to put lotion on, and I was only there for like 3 days. So
oh, yeah, you sure did.
It was really pretty. It was different. You know, where I'm at, it's really green, and you know, when we landed and walked out, it's so brown. You know, I went to Arizona for the first time this year too, and it was the same thing. You know, flying in, it was like everything's brown. You know, it's different, but it's neat to be able to see, you know, all these places. I wish that I could stay like an extra day or two and actually see more, but maybe eventually.
Yeah, do some touristy things.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, cool. Well, so you sound like you pack like me, kind of a last minute sort of thing. You don't even have your ammo loaded, so it'll be nice and fresh when you unload it at the match, which is kind of cool. Anything you're looking forward to at nationals other than concentrating on your own game and keeping it together upstairs?
Definitely getting to shoot with all my Wilson Combat teammates. I got to shoot with a lot of them in Colorado, but for most of the year, there's usually 1 or 2 of us at the same matches. I frequent a lot of the same matches as some of the Arkansas guys on the team, but I think the only person on our team that won't be there is Mike Foley, which I got to shoot with him or see him at the single stack classic. I guess it was the last time I saw him. But other than that, every single Wilson Combat team member will be at nationals, and we'll all be squatted together. So they're just really, I mean, even though you're technically not a team because it's an individual sport, it's just really cool to be with people that, you know, support you and want you to do good, even when you're competing against them. You know, it's really neat. And then obviously getting to see a lot of the people that I don't get to see all the time. You know, I've got a lot of friends, like I said, that I've, you know, and I'm sure you do too, that you've made all over, you know, all over the world really. And it'll be really neat to get to see some of them because some of them I haven't seen since last year's nationals. So, you know, it's always cool to get to see those people and catch up with them and spend the week with them. So I think the people is what I'm most excited about.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, a couple last questions for you here, and then I'll let you get on with your evening, Mandy. But I want to know, where do you see your shooting career headed?
Oh, that's a tough one because I never knew I was even going to have a shooting career. I definitely would like to dabble more in USPSA. You know, I don't shoot as much of it. I think the only major USPSA match I shot this year was single stack classic, which I was very fortunate to win high lady at that one. But I'm not super comfortable with USPSA because I don't shoot it a lot. I can shoot IDPA matches, you know, every week, but as far as USPSA goes, there's only a couple opportunities within a reasonable driving distance for me to shoot them. So, I mean, I definitely would like to do that some more. You know, I don't want to just do well in IDPA. I'd like to do well in other shooting sports as well. Still challenge. I would definitely like to give that a try. But I mean, obviously, one of my goals would be to, I'd love to win a national title in IDPA. Honestly, I'll say I don't think I'm there yet, but I think it can happen if I keep working hard and stick with it. Anything's possible if you try hard enough. But that's definitely something that would be on my list of what I'd really like to do.
Very cool. So are we going to see you in crossover sports? You going to shoot any 3-gun maybe?
I don't know. I have a bit of an issue, and it may not even really be that much of an issue, but I'm left eye dominant. And
you're screwed.
And
no, I said you're screwed, but I was just kidding.
So I'm still trying to figure out as far as, with rifles and shotguns. And, I went dove hunting when I first started shooting, and I wasn't hitting anything, which, I mean, I just started shooting, so that could be part of the problem too. But I didn't realize at the time that I was left eye dominant. And so, I wasn't seeing anything when I was shooting. I may have thought I was, but I wasn't. And that was part of my problem when I first started shooting. And, I'd mentioned I had a real big hissy fit a long time ago. And a lot of it was because I didn't realize that I was left eye dominant, and I was trying to use my right eye, and things were just not working for me. But once I figured out that I use my left eye, it really helped me. And so I struggle. We'll do stuff sometimes out at Bill's where, we shoot a pistol and then we'll pick up and shoot a rifle. And I can shoot it fine if I close my left eye, but it takes a minute for things to kind of line up,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's definitely something I'm going to have to work on if I ever do it. When I first started, Bill kind of told me that I wasn't going to shoot 3-gun because I was already struggling so much with learning to accurately shoot a pistol and all that. And he just felt like it was probably too much at first. But I love the athletic side of 3-gun. I love all the running and everything that I see on videos and stuff. And so I feel like I could do really well at it. I'm strong and I enjoy running and and all that. And so I definitely want to try it, but I've got to talk Bill into it first.
Nice. Well, when you decide to do it, let me know. I'd love to come out and watch you dominate. It'll be awesome.
There's a lot of learning to take place because I watch everyone when they're doing the reloads and knowing what to use and when to use it, and it's like, oh gosh, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, that's actually why I like it so much, is that there is so much going on that it really appeals to like my personality of just dealing with I guess complex problems. So it's a lot of fun to shoot that. But I'm the same way. Like when I go to a pistol match, it's like, man, I feel like outmatched and like totally out of my element. And like I need more practice. So I can definitely relate to you there. Okay, so we talked about your career. So where do you see the sport of IDPA headed?
I'm growing. I mean, it's constantly growing, especially internationally. We're getting a lot of new members and clubs internationally. I think with we had some rule changes last year where we added in fault lines and some different reloading rules and everything. And I mean, it's been doing really well. And I think it'll continue to grow. And, we're always trying to do things to better things for our membership. And I'm really excited to see where, what happens in the next few years.
Oh, that's cool. So internationally, where do you guys see the most growth happening?
I think right now is I think China. There's going to be a lot of members in China. Yeah, we actually have quite a few IDPA members from China that are coming to our national championship next week.
Oh, how cool is that?
We have like a whole squad. So it's really cool to see people from all over the world enjoying.
Yeah. I feel like every time I meet someone who shoots internationally, like I got to go to Wikipedia and look up the gun laws, because like for some reason, just being an American, just in my head, it's like, oh, we're the only ones that do this kind of thing. So it always blows my mind when I meet people that shoot internationally. It's really cool to see, though. Yeah,
I mean, we've got clubs in like South Africa, Italy, Poland. I mean, we've got clubs all over, and some of them do have really strict gun laws, but they manage to figure out a way. You know, you want to do it bad enough, you'll figure out.
Yeah, for sure.
Some way, and they do, and they do a great job. So I'm really excited to see them come and shoot next week. You know, it'll be really neat.
Very cool. Yeah. So not many people from China listen to the Three Gun Show. Like obviously America is number one, the United States is number one, then Canada, then New Zealand, and then kind of gets, really scattered after that. But China, I'll have to pay more attention there.
There's a lot of people that are interested.
Sweet. All right. So last question for you, Mandy, here. One final thought, one piece of advice that you can leave the audience with.
Try things. I think the biggest thing for me has been trying the things that people have, given me as far as advice, and doing what works best for you. I said earlier, sometimes, you do something and everyone may say that it's wrong, but if I get blasted all the time for squinting and closing my right eye, but it works for me. And, a lot of people are probably going, no, that's wrong. You're not supposed to do that. But, try things, take the advice that people give you, and what works for them may not be what works for you, but there may be a small snippet of what they told you that does work for you. And, just keep trying things, keep learning, never stop learning, and you'll be amazed at what you can do.
I love it. Well, Mandy, thank you so much for sharing your amazing story here on the Three Gun Show, and teaching us all about IDPA and the great things you guys are doing. Really appreciate your time, and thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.